Welcome to Career Juice, where we talk to real people with real jobs and get all the juice that it takes for them to succeed in the careers that they chose. I'm your host, Tiffany Yard, author of How to Wine with Your Boss, and the owner of Motovino, an education platform that pairs professional development training with really fun programs in wine. Today we're talking with Ron Coriolan, a biology teacher and life coach. So let's get started. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
From a career standpoint, where'd you start? And how do you think propelled you into this teaching role versus, and again, now moving on to community activism?
That started back in 2006. Around this time, the city of New York was noticing that less than half of its high school graduates were African-American males. African-American males who were not graduating. So what the city started was what they call the Young Males Initiative, to basically spur this drive to get young black and brown males to graduate. So the organization I was working for mimicked the city initiative and basically said, okay, we're gonna recruit mentors / life coaches to basically mentor young men to prevent them from not graduating high school on time and just being life and college ready if they choose to go to college. I had this crazy notion that I wanted to go work on Wall Street, make money, because even with my students that I work with now, it's all about money, money, money. There's no talk about passion or some type of interest. So I started my first job out of college. I was working at the Boys and Girls Club as a youth counselor out on Long Island, Suffolk, Long Island. And
that was a commute.
That was a commute. There's a town out there called Bellport. Mm-hmm. And the way this town is structured, you ever heard the saying, this person is from the other side of the tracks? This town is literally that phrase. There's a train track that divides the town, the Long Island Railroad train track. On one side, you have your black and brown population, which looks run down. There's not enough businesses, just underserved community. And as soon as you cross that track, whether you're driving or walking, it's like night and day. Houses, businesses booming. That this is the same town boggles my mind. Boys and Girls Club that I worked at was actually on the side where the black and brown students were at. I was working with students from all ages, from elementary, middle school, high school. And particularly, I was meeting students who had the best potential. They were very smart, but they were just misguided. There's problems and issues that I could help to turn around. So this is more than money now. So that whole notion of working on Wall Street or a big firm, sitting in front of a desk doing spreadsheets all day, got thrown out the window. The system is not recognizing cultural differences that exist in society, and it's basically putting a blanket on everybody. So the organization I was working for, it started off with recruiting about, I want to say, 50 to 60 young males starting from third grade. So you had third grade black and brown students who had a mentor. In third grade, if somebody introduces you to say, hey, this is going to be a mentor, some of them like, I don't even know what a mentor is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, what is a mentor? The program would be doing things that were based on academic and social enrichment. So during this time, when I was doing the case management, and that's a line of work that can burn you out. So it's not for everybody. So it was working with underserved families from Harlem and Bronx area, even though the site was located in Harlem. Mm-hmm. So went through the interview process. I want to say it was about like a 3-step interview process, and I made the cut. And after I got in, you really have to give yourself, because you're in a position where you can change the trajectory of somebody's life, because you can make the call if a child can be removed out the home or not. Moving out of that space, I always told myself I'm grateful to be in that, because that's something that I know is going to be included in my next experiences. I'm still in contact with the mentees, because I've always told them, and just like my other colleagues from the program, that regardless whether it be program-wise or not, we've made a connection for life. I'm always going to be here.
You have awesome mentors, and one of them included a teacher who's been in the industry for almost 3 decades. What was the greatest lesson she's giving you?
Is that there's real effectiveness when you have students teach themselves. A teacher should not only be seen as, okay, I'm the teacher, I'm going to stand in front of here for 40 plus minutes and you listen to me, and then bell rings, you leave. The difference is that the teacher is a facilitator of learning for the children. This is powerful, and I've seen it in action. I've seen it work. And And that's one thing I put in even into my practice. You might have trial and error, but you definitely gonna find your niche, and that's one of them. I thank her for that. No.
And I will say that I think, especially for first generation children and children from humble beginnings, when you're taught to provide and you're taught that there has to be a means to an end, as opposed to just doing something for its own edification, for its own enrichment, that's a big disconnect versus those who have not.
Right.
And changing that narrative is so important. I'm glad that's what you're doing.
High school and college, you're going to be taking classes that you might not need to apply, but they're going to help in materializing your overall knowledge of self, making you well-rounded, and even if you don't apply it in your job or career.
These kids, and being with them 8-9 hours a day, dealing with not only their academics but their emotional well-being, how do you unpack?
In all bad days, there's going to be something good that happened, and to focus on that good. You might have nights where they're up late night doing lessons, thinking it's great. You get to school the next day, bell rings, you're about to start it, you're like, yes, this is about to be great. And next thing you know, there's a student who's just off the wall. One student can change your whole classroom. I'll put it like that.
Wow.
One. We have students out here, not students, but youth out here who have adult problems. We have adults who can't even handle adult problems. So how is it? It's true. You have adults who can't handle their own issues. So how can you expect somebody who's in their teens and even younger to have those same issues and even worse and be expected to function in society? That's crazy. There's communities that are thriving out here. There's this notion that communities that are suffering economically or from criminal activity aren't being able to be saved unless it's being gentrified. I don't believe that's true. I believe people who live in these same communities want the best for the communities, but it's certain elements in that communities which are making the whole community look a certain way. Just like the example I just gave you. I can have a complete class sitting there ready to learn, and that one student gets maybe 5 other students off task, and now the whole class is crazy. Same thing with a local community. You might have certain elements that are doing negative activities in communities, and because of those isolated incidents or activities, now the whole community is blanketed as being bad or not a good place to live. When in these same communities, you might have people who wake up 4 or 5 in the morning to catch a train and go to work, who have core values to say, look, I want the best for my child, I want them engaged in this, but I just find myself living in this community because this is where we have to live,
Whether it's a career move, whether it's going to be how you tackle a specific business issue, who do you go to?
So I try to take bits and pieces from various different avenues. I attend different events, I meet with different people, speaking engagements, panel discussions, whether it be at schools that I've attended and graduated from, or even schools that are just having a speaking engagement. I'll still RSVP and go attend. I go to workshops that are even provided by the Department of Education. Books, articles, schools, teachers, professors, peers, you name it. Like I'm going after that because I know there's going to be a piece of information I could add on to the toolbox.
So as a biology teacher, as someone who is a builder by nature, someone who is involved in the community, when you think about the role of someone who's going to have your exact position, what kind of skills would they have to have to succeed?
Regardless of time and space, that would be to first and foremost look at your students as human beings. Don't just look at them as students or as that title of a student, like I dominate you. No, we're on the same plane. As a teacher, I aside from being in a master program right now, when I step into a classroom to teach my students, I myself also am a student. I'm learning from them. My students have taught me a lot. And after asking yourself, why are you doing this? To really outline and say, okay, what do I have to do now for myself and for others in order for me to fulfill this purpose that I'm seeking out to do? Making sure you connect with the students. Like, one practice I like to do, especially, it happens throughout the year, but even in the beginning of the school year, really take time to really ask questions. Where are they from? What foods do they like to eat? What music do you like to listen to? That goes a long way.
Actually goes a long way in real life too. You can connect with people who are gonna support your cause, fund your projects, build relationships.
Exactly.
It's like networking and treating to your point, your students the way you would treat your peers.
Exactly.
And the respect is a baseline regardless.
Exactly. Those are some of the things I would say somebody who looks to go into his practice 5, 10, 20 years from now, should hold on to, because those are some very important things. And also keep up with the changing times. You might have teachers who are really stuck from the beginning of their career and think that it's just this is how it is. Times change, language change, students change, and keeping up with the times. You can be a teacher who's older, trying to, I want to say stay hip, but even by doing that and knowing what's in the know will help you in the long run. You know, so these are some of the things I would put into a treasure box and say, here's some jewels that you can hold on to and hopefully beneficial down the road to work for you. So Tiff, what are we drinking here?
So we've got this really fun Zinfandel out of California, Paso Robles. Zinfandel is a really fun grape that I like to say, well, if Cabernet Sauvignon had a baby with Merlot, this would be it. California does it really well. So you're gonna get a lot of flavors of like chocolate, raisins, and really jammy vibes. This is actually a particular blend that the winemakers add a little Syrah Mourvedre, which is a really, really good kick to the wine in this case. So it's Zinfandel led, but they come in blends too, and this blend's actually pretty fun. But I'm a Zin girl, not to confuse with white Zinfandel, because that's usually just rosé of the same grape. This is true Zin, and it's something to fall in love with for sure.
Nice.
Well, that's all we got today. Appreciate you so much for joining us. Thanking Ron for coming. Again, seeing the world through his lens and talking about all the really cool things happening in the education space and all the projects that he's a part of. Please tune in every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. where we talk careers and all the juice that it takes in the juice.
That's the juice right there. You got the juice now.